Ahoy toy! Welcome to Transfixed. Fair warning, there's going to be a lot of complaining up front in this video. I want to talk about where action figures have evolved to over the last, 30 years. This is my new favorite figure. But before we get there, we need to start back at the beginning of where I started collecting action figures in the 80s with G.I. Joe. Well, I mean, I collected Star Wars and all that good stuff too. In fact, that's where we should start. Now, there are lots of good resources out there if you're interested in the history of action figures. I'll try to do a condensed version here. Basically, dolls were around first, and when they decided to start making figures for boys, it was sort of based on Barbie. That's why our first ones were the G.I. Joe 12-inch figures, and they immediately decided they were going to be called action figures and not to be called dolls. They were kind of also based on those artists' figures, the wooden models with all the joints in them. So they're very articulated, and I think they're pretty good, but that was a bit before my time. I came along in the 80s when, I came along in the 70s, but when I was playing with toys, it was the 80s. By then, plastic costs had driven Kenner to create the 3 3/4-inch action figure scale for Star Wars. And these are 5-point of articulation figures, which are back on the shelves today for some reason. Apparently there's a market for them. But yeah, the arms did this. You've seen these before, I'm sure. Not very much, but it was enough to make it playable. And we had good fun with those. God, this thing is sticky. It is. I've had this since I was 6 years old, and it's been in a margarine container. It's yikes. It needs a wash. Anyway, but G.I. Joe came along. And to compete with Kenner, it made them more articulated. Now this, to me, well, this is not my favorite figure by any stretch, but this was how I spent my childhood, man. These were it. G.I. Joe figures were amazing. They had lots more articulation. You can see the arms did all these swiveling, as you probably know. This was added later. The first year, the G.I. Joes only had a up and down movement in the elbow. Then they added the swivel arm battle grip. You can see these are riveted together with metal. I don't even know how they do it. The heads originally just were on a swivel, but then they got a ball joint later on. The knees had a bend. Of course, in here, there's a metal hook inside here, and of course the infamous O-ring rubber band inside there to keep them together. Now these would rot away. This was the only really flaw of the G.I. Joe figures, that these would rot over time, dry out, and break. So I've had to go back and repair all my figures. But these were amazing. I could do whatever I wanted to with these. They could put cobras in a chokehold. They could kick. They could sit in vehicles. They could do whatever you wanted. They could hold their weapons. Not great, but they could hold weapons. They were pretty much almost perfect. They could even stand up on their own with a little bit of finessing. By the way, forgive me, I'm getting over a cold. I'll try to edit all my sniffles and stuff. Now, where are we today? Before I get into the 6-inch stuff, I'll cover this scale. So this is a modern G.I. Joe figure. It looks a hell of a lot better, I'll grant you that. It's got better paint, much better sculpting. We now have double jointed knees, which is an improvement. We've got ankle articulation. Now this came along after we did have Star Wars figures come back in the 90s, but they went through all kinds of variations. There was no two figures that had the same articulation. This is sort of the standard that Hasbro is using now for these figures when they are still making them. Single jointed elbows. I don't think any of them have a double jointed elbow. Not that I can remember. Some of them have wrist articulation. Now this is nice. This goes up and down. Remember this because I'm going to bitch about it. This one goes a different hinge. This one goes side to side. Well, it doesn't really. It's a bit too sticky. But it does that, right? And it's got this bulky vest on top of it. This does not really work very well at all. And instead of the O-ring, there's a ball and socket joint in the waist, which is okay, I guess. This plastic, though, is too firm to actually peg into itself. And then you've got these hollowed out backpacks, which are kind of a cheaper version of the old original ones. They do have little holsters now. This is pretty cool. You can actually put the accessories into holsters a lot of the time, whereas before this would just be molded on. Like the Stalker here has like a knife molded in and things like that. So a little tiny pistol here too. So stuff like that's been improved, although I find I lose these accessories, or at least I have to be very careful not to. So it's not as great as I thought it was going to be. So anyway, sculpt improved. Articulation improved. However, they can't stand up on their own anymore. They have to have a stand to be in any natural poses. And this is my number one complaint. That you cannot put these soldiers into a firing position. It's close. This is a necessary joint. This has to do that to be in a good firing position. And get the butt stock or the rifle stock up against the shoulder. Now you need to get this one, so this hinge is correct. We should be able to do it, but not quite. We can't get this arm in close to the body. And there's a magazine here that's in the way too, but you can kind of fake it. And it depends on the figure, because not all the figures have the same wrist articulation. It's very difficult to get this guy into a firing position with two hands. With one hand, it's fine. And like I said, you can kind of fake it, and with a different weapon, it would probably be okay. But this is the weapon it comes with, right? How are you supposed to have this looking any good? If there's one thing on my wish list for 3 3/4 action figures, or 6-inch figures in fact, if it's a military figure, can it please be able to hold its gun? That's all I want. Now, the only one I've been able to find that does it is this Revoltech figure, because it has a hinge here. It doesn't go up and down, so it's not quite right. But Revoltech is known for its joints. I mean, look at that arm movement. The G.I. Joes of this day still only have a single jointed elbow, a 90-degree bend. You need to have more than 90 degrees, and you need to have this be on a ball to be able to get into a proper pose with both hands. It also helps that he has 2 joints in his neck, so he can lean in to look down the scope. And he stands up quite nicely too. Now he's got weird proportions because it's a Revoltech figure, but that looks nice. That's what I'm looking for. This is what I'm chasing. Pretty good. Now, this figure costs a lot more, right? This was about, what, $30 to $50, I think? These figures used to cost about $2, I think, in America, or here in Canada. I remember paying about $5 for a G.I. Joe. Over the years, prices went up. I don't remember paying more than $10 for a G.I. Joe figure. You could buy one, a few of these with your weekly allowance. I wasn't from a rich family by any means, but I had a lot of G.I. Joes. Now, as an adult trying to collect figures, I don't have a lot of money for it. These Modern Joe figures cost upwards of $20, depending on what you get. I mean, they don't produce very many now, so you have to get them through exclusives and clubs and BS like that. And the ones that do show up on shelves, I'd say they're about $15, and I don't find them as fun to play with. One of my other big complaints is these ratchets. So it's not just a friction joint. Inside of here, if you open this up, there's little nubs, right? So you can go like that and like that. You can feel the detents in here because it's supposed to be emulating a ratchet. Same with the knees. 1, 2, 3. 3. So, and you kind of have to choose which part of the knee you're bending. I don't know why that's necessary. Friction does a fine job. This figure is 30 years old, and it's super tight. And even the arms, and you can hold a weapon, no problem. Friction does the job just fine. And these aren't even put together with ratchets, or rivets rather, like the arms are. These are just screwed together. This piece goes in here, this is thighs in 2 pieces, it's screwed together. It works fine. Friction is fine, and it's fun, and it has a full range of movement. Whereas this one doesn't have that. You get this, or this, or this. Nothing in between. And it's a pain in the butt. It's more of a pain in the butt on the 6-inch figures, which I'll get to soon. But what I would do with these is scrap this crap. This is too expensive. If you go to Toys R Us any day now, you can find these cheap Chinese figures here They do still sell military figures. There's a whole aisle of them in Toys R Us. And these, to me, are just about perfect for an update. For one, they're very cheap and affordable. Anybody can buy these. And more importantly, they have all the articulation you need. So just to go over it, they have the swivel here instead of the O-ring. The head could use a ball joint. That's a bit lacking. No problem, though. The arms have the same articulation, except they're done without the rivets. And there's an added swivel in the wrist now. This is just a cut here to give it the movement here. It's just pegged in normally. All in friction. There's no ratcheting bumps in there. The leg has the same knee bend, and there's a cut in the thigh, so this swivels around. This pocket even hangs over the lower part of the leg to hide the joint a little bit. Very nice. And it has a swivel in the foot too. So he can do things that a soldier needs to do, like get down on his knee and shoot. And with this swivel here, it gives it a nice way to hold his gun. Look at this. It does everything I need it to do except for that shoulder pose. It doesn't quite do the firing. A double jointed elbow would be perfect. Just that and a head in a ball joint. This would be perfect. Oh, and by the way, the thigh is just on an extra swivel here. This works just fine. Look at that. I don't know any other figure that can actually do this all the way out like that. So he can sit down on vehicles. He can ride motorcycles with legs like this. This is amazing. And it's less than half the cost of a G.I. Joe. This would be all I want out of a figure at this scale. I don't know why we can't get this. If I was running the show, this is what we'd have. Okay? And let's go into 6-inch stuff now. Same problems, though. Now, this is an older Marvel Legends, so it's not a fair comparison, really, but I'll just go through the things I don't like about it. The plastic feels rubbery, so now we've gone to this rubber plastic. This used to be a hard, solid plastic. I don't know if it's ABS or what, but this stuff here feels like rubbery, and I don't know why. It makes sense to have some parts rubbery, like the hands, so that you can get his gun in there, and things like that. But here he's got a swivel that's going the wrong direction for that hand. This one does the same thing. This is okay. The plastic, though, look, it's glossy here and matte here, and this is supposed to be the same material. It's supposed to represent cloth, right? He does have a double jointed knee, which is nice, but again, look at this. It's so stiff, it's not fun to use. And the peg holes in the feet are always an inconsistent size on these Marvel Legends and 6-inch figures. You can never fit them into a base. And I'm glad they did away with these stupid ball hip joints. They just swivel around and never go the way I want them to go. So anyway, let's not use this one because, as I say, it's a bit outdated now. Let's go to Marvel Legends here. Now, part of the problem, I think, is Hasbro owns everything now, so there's no competition. But, alright, so here's Captain Britain. This is okay. The shoulders on this guy are fairly smooth, but they have that needless ratchet. This is alright. Again, now here's the arm again. Look, the stupid ratchet joints. Click, 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 click. I don't know if I'm calling it the right thing by saying ratchet joints, but that's what they feel like to me. And again with the legs, click, click, click. So you don't get the full range of movement, and it is a bugger to pose. If I want to pose this guy like this, okay, I've got a stand here that happens to fit him. Where did I get these ones? I got these on eBay, smalljoes.com. And the other ones I use, which I'll show you in a minute, are from Marauder. But okay, there's a cut here. This does not look great. You know, it makes the uniform get messed up, but this stuff is all okay. It's acceptable. These hips don't do a lot. You know, not as good as that cheap figure I just showed you. Oh, by the way, these are called various things. They're called Power Team Elite, World Peacekeepers, Chap May. I think that's the company that makes them. What else? I don't know. True Heroes, TRU, like Toys R Us. I think the sculpt still stays intact too. Even anyway, back to this guy. Yeah, so I want him to stand up and just have a bit of a... He's not standing up, right? So I want to move his leg forward a little bit, but I can't. I can't get it into a pose where he's going to stand. Part of the problem with this one too is this buckle is right here. the foot doesn't pivot up high enough. It can only go down. And there's these silly ratchets in here too. Everything is on these damn ratchet joints that don't let me have... Oh, there we go. Don't let me have the poses that I need. So this stand fits him. This is our older Marvel Legends. Will it fit in him? No, it's too big for those holes in his feet. So the other stands I use are these from Marauder Inc. These are nice because they click together with each other, and they have a 3 3/4 small peg and a larger peg for the 6-inch figures. So this one fits him fine. Let's see if it'll fit my Captain Britain. Kinda, yeah. It's not quite deep enough for the foot to go all the way on. Again, it doesn't fit the older one. By the way, this is a Director Krennic figure that I just painted blue to be Thrawn. And of course, as soon as I did that, I saw the SDCC Thrawn official figure that will be... Well, I won't be able to find it because it's exclusive, but we're getting a general release later on, I guess. General release. Yeah, so I just used dark blue and then light blue dry brush, painted his eyes and hair black. It doesn't really look like Thrawn in the end, but anyway. So again, same problems here. This one at least has good coloration. There's nice glossy boots, which I don't know if they've been painted or what, but the ratchet joints are kind of subtle, but in the knee, same problem here. I don't know why they do this. And the arms are just single jointed on this one. However, if we look at another Star Wars Black figure, the Stormtrooper has double jointed elbows. Which is good because it needs to have more posability. But he still can't quite get the firing position. Does have the swivels in the right places for the wrists to accommodate it. Double jointed knees. You can see the problem here is that they can't get the colors to match up, right? Because this is a white piece of plastic, so you see the white in here, and they paint the back of it. It's not great. There's some paint flaws on here too. The problem again is that the whole thing is rubbery, and it's got these detents or ratchet. Just cannot stand that. None of the stands fit this guy quite well. Yeah, see the foot here is too shallow. The heel is too shallow. I don't know why they didn't put the peg here, but they put it into his heel, which is too shallow to accommodate any stands. None of them will fit properly. They won't go deep enough. This one is too big to fit in. So, yeah, it fits this one just fine. Except, again, being too shallow. But the hole is the same size, at least. And the Star Wars Black figures don't even come with their own stands. I mean, these are $30 in Canadian. They're, what, 25 US dollars for these figures? They can't even include a stand. Not even like this. It really bugs me. So to fix these figures, I would get rid of the ratchets. Most of the figures should have double jointed elbows and knees. Again, you know, for a figure like the officers and stuff, I guess they can get away with single jointed elbows. The heads are okay. This is one of the better Stormtrooper figures ever made, to be fair, but it still is awkward. And look at this gun. Look how it's bent, right? It's sticking up like a cucumber. You have to always heat these things up with a heat gun or a hairdryer to get them straightened out, or whatever you need them to position you to be. They always get mangled up in the package, which is a shame. But the big thing here is just do away with these stupid ratchet joints. They're totally unnecessary. There's no thought put into that. And it needs to be able to be posable. Otherwise, you may as well buy a statue. Now, I also have the Bandai model kits of these, and it's way more articulated, and it's a plastic model that you put together yourself. So to fix it, yeah, do that, and yeah, just, does everything have to be rubber? I don't know if it's cheaper or what, but can we not go back to this solid plastic? That would be really nice. Alright, so this has been bugging me for a long time, and I was going to make a video ranting about this for a while. The timing was right, though, when this guy showed up. I don't usually collect, like, fighting figures, but this is a Mortal Kombat figure from Storm Collectibles. Looked appealing, and I saw a really positive review about it, and I thought, let me try that. It just looks fun. I was really intrigued by the way these joints looked. And it just looked really cool, and it was only $50, which, you know, for a figure like this is a good deal. Although my wife doesn't think so. So I ordered it, and I was so happy with this. This figure is a joy to play with and pose. I love it. This is now my favorite figure in my collection as far as fun factor goes. And also it looks amazing. So why is that? They just made every right decision on this figure. Now, you'll notice these pieces pop off a lot while I'm handling it. I don't think that's really a negative because you're supposed to be able to have these interchangeable hands, and I like that it's easy to do. Because I have some SH Figuarts toys, which are great, but it's sometimes hard to swap the hands. You gotta use pliers. And again, I mean, you can get good figures. You know, the Japanese ones like SH Figuarts and Figma, they make very good things. But you're paying, you know, $80 to $100 for those figures. This is $50, which I think for what you get is reasonable. But I don't see why we can't do this at a lower price scale. I just noticed he's got a double joint in his shoulder there. But now I find it does feel rubbery. I think what they've done here is they've got a hard plastic buck with all the joints and hard plastic, and then some rubber pieces put over top of it, which is fine. I don't care. If it does feel rubbery, this part is very thin rubber, so it works as well as cloth, except, you know, you get the detail and durability of it. I think this is a good decision too. And there's, of course, there's interchangeable parts and all that, but just any human position that you could put this, that you could want this figure in, he can do it. And that's just because the joints, excellent articulation all around. It also comes with the interchangeable mask, so you can have the Mortal Kombat 2 style. It comes with the different hands, blah, blah, blah. I'll stop talking about this soon. But, I mean, also accessories. It's got the flame effect thing here. It's got this amazing skull head that you can swap on there. So, for fire breathing effect, it does, of course, come with a get over here spear. There's a different version that goes around his wrist and sticks out. I had to heat that up a bit to get it into the right effect. Almost forgot. Storm Collectibles is made in the manliest place in the world. Storm Collectibles is located at 10F Manly Commercial Building, Soy Street, Mong Kok, Hong Kong. Don't know about you, but that's the manliest address I've ever seen. But anyway, he's fantastic. Another one I just got was Shredder, because I need a Shredder, from the SDCC 2017 box set. I would have loved to get the entire set, but it was $300. So I managed to find just a Shredder and a Krang, because I need that. I already have the, I might have actually sprung for the set, even though it was so expensive, but I already have the cartoon style set, these guys here, that came out a couple years ago. And I also have the NECA, well, the set of 4 of these guys. They are knockoffs, but they're almost as good as the real thing. I would have bought the real thing, but they're hard to find. I can't get them. This is a superb figure, and I also got the Krang with it, which I didn't really need, but it came with it. I had to get this through eBay, but to get the split up set. But let's say divide $300 by 8 figures, because it also comes with 2 foot soldiers. That's about $38 US per figure, so Canadian be maybe looking at 50. So it's on par with these things. But I think it's worth it, because this has the same articulation, double jointed everything. I mean, this looks like it came right out of the cartoon. It's even painted in that sort of shaded way. They did a video game set of these, like an 8-bit set last year, I think. But this is better. It's a different sculpt. I don't have that set. I would have liked to have got that too, but again, too expensive. But what I want to point out here is the detail and the paint. I think NECA just paints everything head to toe, even if it's the same color. I mean, it's supposed to look like a cartoon, so yeah, they've put in a lot of shading, well, sort of accent lines. But look at around the spikes. They've even colored this black line, like panel lining type of thing around there. There's even like some weathering, like some dents in his armor there. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. I'm just so excited when I look at this thing. It's superb. He also has interchangeable hands. This is another type here. He's got 3 different types, I believe. Oh, and he comes with these accessories like this thing he was always talking to Krang on in the cartoon. That's a little sticker on there. But even the little wavy line here is painted. Look at this pistol he comes with. Look at the black lines. I mean, they look like they're painted on with a laser. I guess this is done by machine, but I don't know how they do it. I would love to see how these things are made. I just think it's incredible. The detail here. Amazing. And it's pretty much flawless. And look at the Krang suit here. I mean, this... I thought I didn't need this because I have the old original toy of this thing. But they've done a brilliant thing here where they have these ball-jointed arms that just pop off. So you can sit Krang in here. The shape of it hides the sockets. That's all painted in there too, by the way. And then you plug these in here. So he can complain to Shredder about his shenanigans. Anyway, but look at this. This is painted black with then gray on top. Inside of the legs here. These are on a swivel, by the way. They're just pinned together in these joints, but I'm just floored by the paint. And I think the entire thing is painted gray. Like, it's probably molded gray, then painted gray, and then it's got this, I don't want to say wash. Maybe in there it's a wash, but the panel lines. And look in here. This is all black with gray on top of it, I suppose. I don't know what order they put the colors on, but it's astounding to me, the quality of this. So I'm becoming a really big fan of NECA. I mean, I guess I was already, but I don't buy a lot of their stuff, honestly. So I thought that the lines on Krang would be look too much like someone's gone at it with a pen. But in hand, in person, it's not quite as obvious. It blends in pretty well. But again, just really impressed by that as it falls over. But yeah, really, really impressed. He does stand up. I'm just being a bit careless. These swivel too, so. So yeah, I mean, I get that you get what you pay for in a lot of cases. This is a bit tight. But I really think that there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. You could argue that this shouldn't be cloth goods. I kind of like it, though. He also has a toe joint here, which is probably unnecessary, but it's nice for these martial arts type characters. But look, this one hasn't... Oh, wait, does he? He does have actually ratchets in there. They're a bit more mild, though. They're not as pronounced. I don't think they're already in here, but I just don't think they're necessary. I thought maybe I'd crack open one of my figures and then just shave those little nubs down in the joint and see how it works. It's probably going to be fine. Oh, just to illustrate that. Well, I guess these figures, these don't have any ratchets, do they? Oh, maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. But this, I'll show more Stormtroopers in a future video, but this is one of those Bandai model kits. And I know that there are no ratchets in these joints because I built this myself. This is a model kit, right? And it's every bit as articulated, if not more, probably more, as these figures. And there are no ratchets or nubs in those joints. They're just perfectly smooth. This plastic, by the way, is solid, hard plastic, not like the rubber that the Hasbro figures are made from. And he's perfectly solid and stable and fine. All of the joints are capable of supporting him. So that's all I would like to see. Basically, I would like to see double jointed elbows and knees on all the figures. I would like to see some thought put into the wrist joints for, you know, the figure. If it's a trooper like this or a soldier type of thing, it should have more opposable wrists. If it's a martial arts character, take that into account. You know, what is it supposed to be doing? Basically, I mean, a soldier figure should be able to hold its bloody gun. And get rid of those ratchets. That's the bottom line of my rant. If you watched all this video, thanks for watching it. And so yeah, if you agree, disagree, other thoughts, put a comment. I'd like to hear what you guys think. Is it just me who gets driven batty by these things? Probably not. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and thanks for watching. Look at his little tail.
Fatality.